With the announcement of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4 remake, it really got me thinking about what they could do with a brand new Tony Hawk game on modern consoles and how they could go pretty buck wild with it. The last brand new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game we got was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, and yeah, that game was the biggest dookie on planet Earth, and honestly that's me being nice. With the power of modern consoles, they could really bump up the overall gameplay and quality of a Tony Hawk game and really make it stand out as one of the greatest of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater games in the series. But they haven't announced a brand new Tony Hawk game, so I guess we have some time to get our wishes out there, out in the open. So today I'm going to go through 5 things that I really want in a brand new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game. For a few years there, we saw an evolution of Tony Hawk games with Tony Hawk's Underground 1 and 2, and then American Wasteland. These games took elements from Tony Hawk Pro Skater games, like completing goals to progress in the game, but they were amped up by including a story on why you were completing these goals. These 3 games are some of my favorites in the series, because I think it's so fun that they connected the randomness of the goals to some insane over-the-top story. Even with a story, those games didn't take themselves too seriously, but it made it feel like there was some progression in the game and an overarching goal that you were trying to complete. I would absolutely love for them to bring this back and have just another ridiculous adventure. While working on the script for this video, I came up with 3 ideas on what I think would be kind of a fun story mode type game, and they range from simple to outrageous, so I'm just gonna go through them quickly here. My first idea is pretty simple. It could be something like Tony Hawk is getting the crew back together for one more worldwide skate tour, and you skate through levels trying to inspire the world to get back on a skateboard by doing just more and more over-the-top goals. The second idea I have involves skating around a fictional city that has 0 skate spots, and your character's goal is to turn the city into the #1 skate spot in the world. In my little gamer mind, this would be similar to how Skate has made-up cities, but I think it would be so much fun to have that energy of like Tony Hawk's Underground and Tony Hawk's Underground 2, of having to do like stupid stuff like grind down a billboard to make a ramp in the middle of the street, you know, stupid stuff like that. I like that idea because it would allow for like a big open world city, but you could also see the progression of what you're doing as you get through the game. Like maybe you grind the door open to some arena or something, and now you have this brand new arena that you can skate in that is still technically in the bigger world of the game, but also like a little hidden area as well. It'd be cool to see that kind of thing. Now, my third idea is truly bonker billies, but just hear me out. The story starts out with Eric Sparrow, the villain in 2 of the Tony Hawk games, and he has opened up a multiverse, and you and Tony Hawk now have to jump through different portals trying to find him, but also shredding everything in sight on the way. I like this idea for a variety of reasons. One, it's really over the top and makes fun of the multiverse thing that seemingly every single movie is doing these days. And 2, it would capitalize on that ridiculousness and fun that Tony Hawk Pro Skater games typically bring, and not so much focus on it trying to be like a real skateboarding game like Session and Skate is, but instead leaning into that arcade quirkiness that we love from the Tony Hawk games. This would also be such a fun idea because you could incorporate remakes of old levels into this one, since you are just skating across this multiverse. You would also have the potential to have like a lot of really hilarious callbacks, like running into like Chad Muska in New Jersey, maybe current day Chad Muska meets Chad Muska for Tony Hawk Underground, and have some kind of whack interaction. I don't know, I'm just spitballing here. I just feel like you could do so much with that stupid idea, and it would just be a blast to see. So those are just some random ideas I have for a new story mode and a new Tony Hawk Pro Skater game. Again, these are just more spitballing ideas, but I really think that bringing back a story mode could really just make a Tony Hawk game feel very modern and just fun. One of the best features in the Tony Hawk Pro Skater games is being able to create your own character. Maybe you throw on some ridiculous costume, or maybe you try to make a carbon copy version of yourself. But after you create your character, you also get to customize your skateboard a little bit and get to choose your skateboard grip tape, graphic, and wheel color. This always felt like a really important part of the game, but there wasn't ever too much you could do with your options. And it always felt like maybe it was because the console's hardware just made it limited to what you could customize. Because graphics weren't all crazy like they are today, you know? It would be so rad if they gave you full customization over every single detail of your skateboard and really make your skateboard creations as ridiculous and as in-depth as the character creation is. Allowing the player to customize everything from deck graphic to the color of their hardware on your skateboard, it would not only be a ton of fun and make it feel like you were creating your very own one-of-a-kind setup, but it would also teach non-skaters all the parts of a skateboard. We sneak a little learning in for them. For example, you could maybe pick a pre-made skateboard graphic from a real skateboard company, but if you wanted to, maybe you could also create your own graphic and just get silly with it. Or maybe instead of a regular popsicle skateboard, you could pick an old school shape or a mini, or even go one step further and being able to select something like a penny board or a ripstick. I'm just saying, in a video game about skateboarding, you should be able to get into the nitty gritty of the dang board. One of the more underrated features in the later Tony Hawk games was the ability to create a trick. In Thug, you were able to put together tricks to make your own special trick. It was a fun little feature, but due to console limitations, I don't think they made it as cool as it could have been. In later games, there was a feature called Nail the Trick, where you could go into slow-mo and control each foot individually to create new tricks. Imagine being able to combine these two features to create a whole new trick. I'm talking about getting to decide how the board flips, the speed of the board flips, and even maybe what your character is doing while the board is moving beneath them. Maybe your character does something ridiculous like pulls out a slice of pizza and eats it while doing a triple back-footed kickflip. It would allow people to create a whole new crazy world of skate tricks. And speaking of whole new world, it would be even more rad if you could upload these tricks to the web and have other people view them, download them, and then use them. Create a Trick has the potential to stand out where other games like Skate may fall flat. Skate, Session, and Skater XL all fall into these categories of skateboarding simulation, but in my opinion, if the Tony Hawk games continued to lean into the ridiculousness of games, they could come out on top and do things that would not even be considered in skateboarding simulation games. I'm just saying we need some like Grand Theft Auto type stupidity in these things sometimes. It's just fun. The levels of the THPS games are almost characters in their own way, with random NPC interactions, weird skatable spots, and little hidden mysteries throughout every level. Whether or not the game would be entirely open world concept or individual levels, it would still be amazing to have these huge spaces to skate and explore. Sometimes finding those weird little quirks or hidden spots in video games is so much fun, and the THPS games have already been doing that for years, so it only feels right that they would continue this trend. In real life, skateboarding is a lot about finding new and weird spots to skate, and I think it would only be appropriate if they built some of those in the levels. It would be even like a really cool Easter egg idea if you could find previous Tony Hawk levels within other levels. For example, maybe you're skating around a city or something and you find an abandoned mall, you go in, and bada bing, bada boom, it's the mall level from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake, or from the original Tony Hawk game. This would be such a cool way to bring in both the old Tony Hawk Pro Skater games with the new. Even if they didn't make a completely open world experience, can you imagine a level a few times bigger than traditional levels? It'd be so cool to actually take some time to explore every corner of the level, and it would definitely make it feel like you're exploring and trying to find some skate spots, which is what skateboarding is all about! Regardless, I would love to see just massive levels in a new Tony Hawk Pro Skater game, and it would make replaying levels just so much more fun. Finally, I really want to see a new Tony Hawk game that has a star-studded cast. We already got a bit of that with the remake of THPS 1 and 2, but I want to take it even further. Assuming we got my story idea wish, I would love to be able to see pro skaters be a part of that story and actually get to hear their voices and see their personalities. As a kid, it was so cool to see Chad Muska pull up in New Jersey, say some cheesy lines, and then roll away. It made that pro skater feel like a real person and not just a character that I can control. And I think that's why a lot of people's favorite skateboarders are skateboarders from the Pro Skater games. Because we got to see little individual parts of them, even if they were cheesy. I would love to see some familiar faces from old THPS games, but also pros from today's top skateboarders. Not only do I want to see just famous pro skateboarders, because it would be so cool to see just dozens and dozens of unlockable characters. I'm thinking like Smash Bros. Ultimate, but with Tony Hawk Pro Skater characters. If the developers really wanted to, this would be such a dope way to get people to buy DLC too. Maybe you pay a few extra bucks and you get to play as Spider-Man again, with a whole new set of Spider-Man based tricks, cosmetics, and maybe even a level. I know a lot of people get pretty sour about DLC, but I'm actually a firm believer that if the game feels complete and then there's DLC, I'm alright with spending a little extra bucks for that DLC. Especially if it's something like cosmetic, you know? Speaking of Spider-Man, the Marvel Spider-Man game is a perfect example of what I think good DLC is, where you pay a little extra and get a little bit of a side story, but the base game doesn't feel like it's missing anything. But paid DLC is a different topic for a different day. I'm just trying to play as Shrek again. So those are 5 things that I really want in a new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game, but I'm sure I left something off. Please let me know in the comments what you would really want to see in a new Tony Hawk Pro Skater game. Thanks for watching this video. Before you head out, if you wouldn't mind clicking the like button down below, and consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this in the future. And as always, have fun, good luck, and keep shredding the gnar.